But a real pro is never blatant and doesn't bluntly come out and say, okay, you're going to buy this thing or not. You see, that is too forceful. A pro asks these little test questions, seeing how they feel about going further. If they get a positive response, they then go into the minor closing questions. Now, let's just say hypothetically, and we'll make this up for a moment. Let's say that if we were to take the temperature of a person and we compared that to, let's say, their health. Let's say a person had to be 102 degrees, that hot, to spend their money and say yes to our opportunity. The test closing question could be almost compared to a thermometer. See, you are testing to see. Now, if they were 65 degrees, they are rather what? Cold, and we should not go further. We haven't done a job yet. Either there's hidden areas of concern, we haven't built enough value into our presentation. But if we ask the test closing question and it's 102, we close. Are you all with me on that? All right, good. Let me give you a couple test closing questions that I would love you to take and master. They're in your book. Just learn them. The first one would go like this. Using their name, of course. And I'm going to use John, my favorite name in our presentations, of course. John, how are you feeling about all of this so far? You see, the reason I love that question is you haven't put pressure on them to say yes or no. You want to test their feelings. Well, let's say we ask that nice question. John, how are you feeling about all this so far? And he says, you know, I am so impressed. We've talked to 2 other companies, but no one showed us all of this. Now, what would you call the results of the test? Positive or negative? Come on. Positive. Positive. Then you're warmly going to say, well, then let's just draft up our feelings on the application and see how everything looks and see if it makes sense to go ahead, okay? Then you'll ask your minor closing question. All right? This second test close, I think you'll even enjoy more than the first. And some of you have got to make a decision. In fact, you should master both of them and then experiment with both of them. But let me give you the second one. It goes like this. John, do you see why we at Card Service International are so excited about what we're doing to help merchants become more successful? Now, you notice I didn't ask him to buy anything. I want to ask him how he feels about our excitement. And of course, if he says this, you know, you are excited, and I'm impressed, Tom. I didn't realize all of this. Positive or negative? Positive. Well, then, let's just draft up our feelings on the application and see if going ahead even makes sense. And then you'd ask the minor closing question. Okay? I really would love you to learn those two. Because, see, if you don't ask those test questions and you go into the close too soon, many times you'll turn them off because you didn't move smoothly into the actual final closing. And please realize, the more I've researched your company, having worked for, gosh, almost 2.5, 3 years with you, I have learned a truth. There's not a merchant out there who doesn't want to be more successful, right or wrong. That's why you've got to have all of this presentation focus on improving their business during the presentation. You see, you must educate them on the benefits to their clients of having Visa, MasterCard, debit, check approval, guarantee, all that you do. You are an educator, then a closing specialist, as we're coming up to. Now, I'd like to give you a warning. There's something you must be aware of, and that's what I call information overload. See, many people start learning an industry. Boy, they become knowledgeable. They happen to be possibly the very analytical type. They're great technicians. And all of a sudden, they want to teach the person too much. You see, there are personality types of merchants that want just get to the bottom line. I'm busy. Yes, now I see the value. But I only ask you what time it is, not how do you build a watch, if you know what I mean. So don't give too much information. If you're picking up good positive feelings, move into the close. And if you have to shorten your presentation because they're ready to go ahead, fine. I mean, there are some people that I know in sales that, I mean, they're not about to let that merchant go ahead until they have heard everything. Don't do that. When they're ready, close the transaction, all right? Now, when you do your minor closing questions, and I want to go over this one more time, the test or trial close is a little question to see how they feel about going further. When you get a positive result, your minor closing question is a question, the answer to which is written on the application, and now you've gone from giving information into the physical closing of the transaction. Now, here's when you can be hit with objections or areas of concern. And if you remember the triangle, this is where usually they will say things to stop you from going ahead. How many of you have ever heard this? You know, it sounds good, Tom, but I really need to talk to my bank, my partner, my accountant. How many of you have ever heard that? We know they're going to say that, so we must develop a presentation to overcome it. Now, what I'd like you to do joining us via television is I'd like you to come right in here with me as if you were the merchant. I am the Card Service International professional representative. I've done a wonderful presentation. I did a test close, got positive results. I then did a minor closing question. I have now got my application out, and we are ready to go. And suddenly you say to me, Tom, I really need to talk to my partner. Well, I want you to just smile and say, John, I understand. In fact, I agree that it's wise to consult those people you rely on for advice when making a business decision. Would your partner be available now so I may answer any questions they might have? You see, one of your goals is to realize oftentimes they say this kind of just like a stall. Many of them don't really mean it. It's a nice way because, see, you're so nice. Now, please realize, the more they like you and feel good about you, the more difficult it is for them to get rid of you. You with me on that? You know, if you're not nice, they'd have no challenge. Look, I don't think we're ready to go ahead, and you're awful pushy, pal. Get out of my place. You see, that's because you're not a pro. But if they like you, they trust you, you've followed all the steps I'm teaching you, they will nicely find ways to possibly procrastinate. So many of them just need a little more help. So really work on that presentation. Here's another one. Try this one. When they say, well, we need to talk to our partner, just say, great. Let's call him now and arrange a time when we can all meet together to discuss the benefits we've covered here today. See, one of your goals is for you to go with them. The reason is there's no way they can ever give your presentation to a partner or a bank. If this is a sizable account and one you're really interested in and you're focused in it, you do what's ever necessary to get in front of the decision makers. That's a commitment champions always make. All right? Here's another way. You might try this. Ready? He says, well, I really need to talk to my partner. You just smile and say, John, I'm curious. Do you always consult with your partner on every business decision you make? Now here again, if that was just a stall, he'll think back, no, I've made decisions without him. If he says no, then say, you know, he's going to be thrilled with what we're going to do for you. In fact, what do you think he would say if he was here for the last half hour? Well, I bet he'd go ahead. Well, then don't you think we should do what you both would agree on doing? Let's just put it all down and see how it looks, okay? And then you move to the minor closing question, okay? Let's go to another one.